Hello, and welcome to this video where we're going to do something a little bit different. Now, if you've watched any of the other behind-the-scenes videos for Based on a True Story, you've got to see audio recording, you've got to see audio editing for the podcast, you've even got to see creating some graphics. This is going to be something a little bit different, and it's not really related to the podcast directly, but rather related to the podcast indirectly. I'm talking about the podcast website. I'm going to do some maintenance on the podcast website, probably remove some plugins that I hadn't gotten around to doing, and just going through that process. But I thought I'd actually just hit record and let you see what it's like kind of behind the scenes and what it's like working with WordPress and putting together some of this. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is I actually want to come into the podcast website here, and I need to come in and make a backup. So what we're going to do is we're going to back up the website as it is right now, and then we're going to take that and install it on a local copy. And then we're going to make our edits and make sure that nothing breaks on the website. And that way we're not actually editing the live website and running through some tests and things like that. And then if everything goes according to plan, we will make those changes on the live website. So let's go through this process. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to back up the current website. And let's come in here. I use a plugin called Updraft Plus. As you can see, I really like this plugin. It works really well for backing things up and restoring them. So basically, I'm going to back up this, and let's call this a full backup. All right, so this is going through the process of actually backing everything up. Now, this might take a little bit of time. So as this works, let's come in and download WordPress. And I'm working with WordPress 4.9.8. They're going to be coming out with WordPress 5.0. As I'm recording this, I think they're going to come out like a week or so from now. It's pretty soon. So, actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's... Well, you know what? I changed my mind. I was thinking about maybe doing running this with the WordPress 5.0 beta that's out currently, but they haven't, as of this recording, they haven't released the release candidate, and so the beta, there still might be some changes to it. So I'm going to stick with 4.9.8, and what I've done on the back end is I've disabled my automatic update, so that way when 5.0 comes out, it won't actually update to that, and I'll still be working with 4.9.8 until I can make sure that everything works there. So anyway, that's kind of neither here nor there. But you get to see some of the behind the scenes. That's kind of the whole point of this, right? I could just pause and create this, great streamlined tutorial. But I decided that I think this will be helpful to just do something that's a little more off the cuff and a little more laid back, relaxed, a little more realistic. All right, so here's WordPress. Let's extract this. I also have a copy here of Updraft because we're going to need that. So this is still backing up. Let's open up XAMPP. So XAMPP is the Apache web server that I can come in and use in order to run WordPress locally. Now, I'm not going to go through the process of installing XAMPP. I already have that installed, but if you're curious about that, there's tutorials out there online to run through that process. I think I actually have a tutorial going through that up on Udemy that walks through the process of setting it all up. So I'm going to start these. So I have Apache and MySQL running. Apache is the actual web server. MySQL is the database. And the first thing we need to do is come in and let's create an actual database here. So I can clear these downloads out. Create a new database. This is what our fresh installation of WordPress is going to have. So let's just call this updates, boats updates for the boats websites based on a true story. Boats is the acronym. So, all right, so we have this empty database. That's perfect. Now we need to come in and take WordPress. Let's rename this folder to be the same. That's just a matter of convenience on my part. And then come over to our htdocs, and this is where XAMPP is installed. It's going to depend on where you choose to install it. I just installed it on C, and we have WordPress here. So we need to come in, update the configuration. I actually prefer to use Visual Studio Code, so let's pull this in. Oh, there we go. All right, so the database name is the one that we just created, Boats Updates. The username, so by default, you can come in here and you can actually, you can change this. You can make some changes in the privileges and create users and all that kind of stuff. Since this is all local and it's all locally, it's not being broadcast on the web anywhere. This website isn't. I'm just going to leave everything at the default because as soon as I'm done recording this, I'm going to be deleting this. It's just a test anyway. So just to make sure that everything is working. And then the default password is nothing, so it's empty. So we need WordPress, salt, keys. Let's find those. So our salt generator. Just copy this. When you refresh, it changes every time, so you can get a unique one there. It's always going to be different when you come here. And then just paste those in. And we're good to go there. That will connect it to our database. So now we need to come into localhost / our boats updates, and that should launch WordPress to go through its installation process. Here we go. And this is just a clean thing. So this, I don't really care what this is. We're going to be changing all this. However, I'm going to come in and copy this so I have it. Leave a little note. One thing I want to point out, you'll notice I'm moving kind of quick. I'm not really... I'm trying to explain things as I go, but I'm also trying not to... I'm trying not to make it seem like it's, I assume that you don't know what everything is, because there's different people at different levels. Now, if this is your first time, you've never worked with WordPress at all, and you're not familiar with, installing it on localhost or doing all of this kind of stuff, by all means, feel free to ask questions in the comments, and I can break things down more so in future videos. If you're curious, if you want a video just on WordPress and just on, setting this stuff up, that's not really related to the podcast at all, by all means, let me know in the comments and I can go through that. Sorry, podcast. But I just wanted to walk through this process, and I might as well record it so you guys can see it too. All right, so this is installed, and the reason why this doesn't really matter is because we're going to migrate from the current website to this new one that we've created. So all we need this for right now is to log in right here and go through the process of installing Updraft. So we have Updraft installed on this clean installation of WordPress, and then we're going to take the Updraft backup from our live website and put it here, and that's the basic migration process that we're going to do. All right, so if we come over to our installed plugins, it's not installed, so we need to come grab Updraft. Let's unzip this and make sure we have the root folder. Yep. So take that, move it back over to our plugins. Now, as soon as this is moved over, if I refresh here, it'll show up. That's pretty much what installing a plugin is on WordPress. And then once it's installed, you actually have to activate it. Now that it's activated, this particular one, there's something I need to go through, and I need to actually add in. They have a migrator add-on that you have to enable in order to be able to migrate from one website to another. And if you have access to that, depends on your particular license. I have a license to that, so I'm going to real quick log in right here, and I'm going to pause the video real quick while I log in here. All right, so I've connected it to my Updraft account, and that determines what license I have with them. And I don't need all of the add-ons. All I need is this migration. In fact, the way their licensing works at Updraft, that's the only thing I don't like about Updraft, is the way their license works. Unless you buy an unlimited license, which is significantly more expensive, you have a certain number, and they're not a certain number of licenses, and once you use them, it's gone. You can't use it again. So fortunately, their migration tool doesn't adhere to those licenses. That's different. When you have a premium subscription with them, you get the migration. So I can activate just the migration add-on, and it's not going to affect my particular license with Updraft. All right, so migration is activated. Let's update the plugin. It needs to actually add in that little migration tool. So give this a moment to do that. While that works, let's look over here and see how our backup is doing. Looks like it's done. So what we need to do now, you can see I've actually have it hooked up into Google Drive. So I could go to Google Drive to download this, but I'm just going to click these, and that's going to let me download it directly here. For the sake of this video, it's one less thing to have to go through. But you can see these are going to start downloading. Once it's done, I'm just going to click the download to your computer, and then that's going to actually come in and add this to the downloads. So I'm just going to download these as they're done. The uploads, that's going to take the longest amount of time. Uploads for WordPress, that's the WP uploads folder. All of your images, all of your audio files, all of your media files, anything that you upload through WordPress goes to the WP uploads folder. So that's typically going to be the biggest folder for WordPress. So that's going to take the longest here. You can see it's so big it actually split it into two, which is normal. This is 414 megs, 414,000 K, which is 414 megs. And then this is, well, not technically, it's a little bit less with 1028 per. But anyway, 1024 by, or 1024, sorry, K per meg. Anyway, that aside, it's about 414 megs, roughly 410 megs, whatever. And then this one will be whatever it is. We'll see once this is done here. There we go. All right, so this one's downloading. This second one there, let's hop back over here and see how this is done. It looks like this is almost done. All right, it's done, updated. There we go. It's reactivated. Return to plugins, and now we should be ready to migrate this. What we need to do to migrate that is to take these files, which if we go to our downloads folder, you can see these files that are downloading. Basically, to migrate, we need to take these files, move them over to the local host, and then restore them or import them into that installation. So uploads 2 is the last one that we need, I believe. And once this is done downloading here, we should be ready to migrate those over. So I'm just waiting for this to finish here. And the basic process next, as I said, we're going to migrate those into the local host. Here we go. So we have all those files. I'm going to Control X to move them, take them over to updates, content, and the plugins. Oops, I'm sorry. Once we have Updraft installed, we'll have this Updraft folder and paste those in there. Now that we have this, if we come over here to our Updraft, we'll see that it will actually read, hide that, just give ourselves a little bit more room. We'll see it'll actually read. There's this backup. So you can rescan if you need to, but you can see here's the backup. So we need to restore this. And through the restoration process, we should see it's going to say, hey, you're actually migrating. See, search and replace. So it's going to replace anywhere that it says based on a true story podcast.com in the database. It's going to replace that with localhost because that's the new URL for this particular installation. So that's going to allow it to still work as if it was exactly on based on a true story podcast.com, but it's not. It's on our local computer. So let me restore this. All right, so this process, you can see it's working here. This process could take quite a bit of time depending on the size of your website. This website being decent size, you know, we saw it was 400 or 700 or some megs or something like that for everything. It's pretty decent size, so this could take a little bit of time. It's going to keep adding to these things as it needs to. So I'm going to actually pause the video here, and then we'll come back when this is done. All right, so this should be pretty much done. Yep, all the way. So let's head back. Now, as soon as I click on this, it's going to kick me out. It's going to make me log back in again. And the reason for that is because it swapped the database. So no longer are we using that username and password that we set up initially. That's why I said that's not really that big of a deal. Now we're going to be using the username and password for the website that we've actually replaced it with. So I'm going to pause real quick while I log into this. All right, so here we are on the dashboard. And this is exactly the same as when we're logged in live. So what I'm going to go through now is to remove some plugins and make sure that nothing breaks. So let's take a look at our website. So this is what the site looks like. Take a second for it to load here. Because I'm running it locally, it's not the fastest thing. I don't have the fastest computer, so it's not really set up for that really well, but looks like everything is as it should be. So let's come into our plugins here. So the basic thing that I need to do here for this maintenance is I don't remember, maybe a few months ago, I swapped the themes that I was using. So I was using a different theme, and now I've swapped it to one. So some plugins, I didn't go through and remove some of those plugins, which is really, I mean, that's I should have done that initially when I swapped the themes, but I swapped the themes and I didn't remove the plugins, so those plugins are still there. So it's just kind of a little bit of optimization to get rid of those since this theme is not using them. I'm not using them anymore. So for example, this guy here, it's inactive. I can delete that. Anything, so Devaloved, that's the name of the company that created the last theme I used. So really anything by them, I should be able to deactivate. Deactivate that. Come on. And as I said, it's not the fastest thing in the world. But that's the way it goes, I guess. It's deactivated. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. This will be faster. I can actually come in and let me select. So this one, that's already deactivated, so I can just do that. I don't want to delete them first. I want to come in and just deactivate them. So any of these, I think that might be it. Yeah, I think that might be it for now. Oh, this guy here, I'm not using that either. I used to use MailChimp. I have a mailing list somewhere, but I haven't used it It's just an extra thing. It takes a lot of time to do. All right, so I'm going to deactivate those. So with all of those deactivated, we're just going to do a run through on the site and take a look at a couple different pages. It's going to be a spot check. I'm not checking every single page. And we're going to make sure that some of the key elements work. Now, fortunately, the website is very, very simple because the key elements really are this homepage. So if the homepage loads, that's, of course, I mean, make sure that nothing's broken. Then that should be good. So there we go. It's loading. It's good. Looks like this changed a little bit. Not really sure why this changed from deactivating those. But I'll have to look into that, see if that sticks around. So actually, let's do this. Let's delete our cache and make sure that we're getting the most recent thing here. So delete the cache, wait for it to reload. Yeah, I might want this to be a little bit taller, but it loads. We're looking for functionality here. We can tweak things later. Make sure that a couple of these load, that everything inside of them is as it should be. I also will check these links up here. So the subscribe, the contact. I don't need to check support because that just forwards currently. It's a redirect to Patreon, so that's not local. It looks like everything is working. These are missing. These heading elements are missing. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. See, that shouldn't, I'm trying to think, nothing about this is using any of those plugins. So I'm wondering if that's something to do with the migration or if that's one of the plugins. Let's save that because we'll take a look at that here in a second. So yeah, the heading elements are missing. The links at the bottom should be there. Missing elements. It looks like that's the same for all of them. That looks like one of the biggest issues, really, that heading element. And then on these pages, all this is just coded with HTML, so that should be good. All those links work. Make sure FAQ, changelog, privacy policy, all that stuff is local, but those are pretty simple pages, so that should be good. Let's check contact while that one loads. Yeah, pretty simple, straightforward. Privacy, all the different things that are used, this stuff, that's fine. The changelog, various things that have changed over the past. It looks like we're missing a custom heading element again. And then the FAQ. Okay. All right, so it looks like most of these, you notice the heading elements here are working. So let's come in here. I'm going to edit this page. And let's edit this one. And let's see what the difference is, why one of those pulled over and why one of them didn't. So if I edit this, I should see, because I'm fairly certain that this page is much simpler than the others. I might not have used the back end special heading element for that. Yeah, I didn't. This is just text, which is why it's working. It's just text. It's not a special element here. In Visual Composer is what I'm using on the back end. So, yep, it's just a just a heading there. If I don't know if I can make this bigger or not. There we go. To see, so you can see it's just code for that, which is why it's working. And I bet you anything, this is not just code, which is why it's not working. And that's often the case, which is why I will often try to just use the code, because it's a lot easier than it is when things break. Come on. This can load anytime now. There should be content here. It's not loading. Yeah, again, this is really, really slow. So that's how it goes. All right, so the issues that we've come across here. Custom heading elements are broken. And the home page hero image is height is too short. Those are the two different issues that we have. So, yep, so you can see right here, see how that's different? This is actually a heading element. Makes it easier for this visual view, but it broke. So, again, I don't know if that's actually something that's happening with... The problem is I didn't check this page before turning off the plugins. I can try reactivating these plugins, but I'm fairly certain that won't make a difference. Let's try it. Let's activate these, check this again, and see if these are still broken. While that activates, I bet it will be, and I'm guessing that is not a big enough issue to stop from doing it live, because if those are broken, I'm going to have to go back in there and fix them. No, you know what? Look, they're back. So it was one of the plugins. Which plugin? Now comes the thing. Let's find out which plugin it is. All right, so the plugins, I have a list of the plugins that I deactivated. I'm looking over on my other monitor here. So let's do Slider Revolution. That is a responsive slider. It shouldn't have anything to do with headers. But this is a one at a time thing here now. So let's deactivate that. And let's refresh the page. There we go. So that wasn't it. Next one is Shop Extensions, UX Shop Extensions. So UX Shop was the name of the theme that I used to use, but it's not the theme that I use anymore. So I shouldn't need this plugin. That's why I was going to deactivate it, but let's see if it caused an issue. So do that, refresh, and once this loads again, you can see it's still there. That's working fine, so not that one. UX shortcodes, again, UX shop shortcodes, that's another one that goes with the old theme. So refresh once this is done. And there we go. That looks like that was it. See, it broke. So if I enable this, I guess shortcodes make sense. It must be using it. So the way WordPress works on the back end, the reason why it makes sense is WordPress, a lot of the stuff, the customization on top of WordPress itself is built using shortcodes. So I'll just test this one more time just to make sure, and then I'll get back to what I was talking about. So this should pop back with the correct title. Yep. So that's what it is. So the reason why shortcodes make sense. If I edit this page, this is what all of this looks like, right? But if I come over here and go into the classic mode, which is the regular WordPress view, you can see this here. It says open brackets VC underscore row, and then full width equals, and it has all this stuff, all this code, right? That's what's called a short code, as opposed to just this that's just text that I'm typing in. So this short code with an open bracket, and then it goes all the way up until there's a closed bracket, which looks like it's right here. Oh, nope, right here. So this is one short code. It's not real short, but it's a short code. That's what it's called. This is another short code. Okay. This is another short code. Right? And then this right here, you can see the slash in the front. That means this is the end of this short code. So that means that this right here, VC empty space, lives inside of VC underscore column. So that's how you read that right there. So, and then this right here, VC row, ends this row right here. So the way that that works, VC is Visual Composer, and that's the plugin that I'm using. And so the way that that shortcode works here is it's saying, okay, this right here, this is a row. See, this is a row right here. And so what it's seeing is it's seeing that shortcode and it's interpreting it as that, right? So the reason why that shortcode affects it is somewhere in that plugin. I'm not real familiar with the intricacies of the code in that plugin. This plugin here that broke it or fixed it. Something about the shortcodes that is affecting the shortcodes for the header. So this here, the shortcodes for that header to make it styled that way. So in order to fix that, well, let's back up a little bit. The cause for that, I can bet, is because I first created a post when I was using that other theme, and so it was using that shortcode. And so since then, usually what I'll do is I'll copy that page or that post, and then I'll change everything out. So that way the posts are all styled the same, and I don't have to recreate it every time. I just copy and then change. It makes it a lot faster, but somewhere along the line it got dependent on that plugin. And so when I get rid of that plugin, that's when it breaks. So let's do this. I'm going to leave this plugin activated, and that's exactly why we test things locally before going live. So now I'm going to come in, I'm going to select the other ones, because all these others should make it work fine. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I just thought of this. Let's test this and see if this changes too. Just to see if this being shorter. Yep, that was it. So it was that one plugin that was causing this to be a different size, and so it was affecting that. All right, so now if I come in, I should be able to deactivate a lot of these other guys, these other plugins, and not have it affect anything. And we should be good then. So now I know we don't have an issue. We just need to don't deactivate. So don't deactivate that. And then at some point in the future, if I want to actually get rid of that, which I probably will, I'll just have to go in and remove that dependency, which means changing everything from the dependent headers that rely on that plugin to headers like I have in the FAQ, or even in the subscribe over here that's all code, and so those headers don't reply, or those headers don't rely is what the word I was looking for. Don't rely. See, these work fine without the plugin because they're code, because it's code directly built in, not short code rather. All right, so I think we have it. I think we have our list. The list that we need to do is MailChimp, WordPress, page sections, redo framework. Redux is how a lot of people pronounce it, but that's wrong, I think. I've always assumed that's wrong. That's UX shop and then UX shop. All right, so the rest of these guys we can leave. All these we can actually come in and we can select them just for good measure. Let's select them and delete. And once these are deleted, we should be able to do another test and just make sure that make sure everything's good before doing this live. Yeah. Deleting. Things usually run a little bit slower on localhost. Unless you have a big beefy computer that has a lot of stuff, a lot of processes dedicated to it. But I don't have a lot of processes dedicated to the server because I don't really need them. And I'm also recording at the same time. So, all right, so all that's deleted. Let's go to the home page. Let's refresh on this guy. And let's just make sure that, again, we're sure that everything works. So refresh, everything looks good. Links at the bottom, everything's good there. On the home page, this is the right size. Everything seems to work. We're good. More episodes loading. Yep. All right. All right. So I think we're good. I think we're good to do this live. The one last thing, let me check. Let me check something real quick. See if there's any updates I need to run on those while we're at it, while we have all this, while we're working on this. All right, so there is an update to the theme. All right, so I'm going to go get the theme, and let's update the theme while we're at it, just to make sure that when we update that, nothing breaks. So I got this theme from ThemeForce, which is a great site that has a bunch of stuff. I'm going to have to log in and download it from here, but I can show you the theme. Composer. There we go. If I could spell properly. That happens. All right, so this is the theme. Here it is, this one here. This is the theme that I'm using currently. All right, so I just need to log in and download this. I'll pause the video real quick while I do that, and then I'll be back when that's done. All right, so I have that downloaded. Let's hop over to our downloads here. It's this right here, so let's extract it. And the process for updating this is very simple. For this one in particular, I don't have a child theme installed. Another thing I probably need to set up is a child theme, but I haven't, because I just recently swapped the theme, I haven't done enough extensive customizations and stuff to the back end to really need a child theme at this point. A child theme will let you do some update or make changes to different things in the theme without affecting the core, so you can update the core theme without actually replacing the child theme, or without affecting the changes you've made, rather. So to update this, it's really as simple as coming into themes, and then I just need to paste this in. You can see I had a child theme on UX shop, and so any of these updates or these little changes and things that I've made, if I update the core theme, it's not going to change what's in this folder. So that's kind of the way WordPress works with child themes. But let's just paste this in, and it's going to move them. The thing moved on the other screen. It's moving. But so it's moving stuff over into that folder. There we go. And once this is done, 12%, 16%. All right, so once this is done here, we should be able to refresh this and see that it updates to 3.2.7. And you can do an update this way. I found with themes, sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. Maybe I'm old school, but I always update themes by just replacing the folder, because sometimes that just doesn't really work too well. I don't know why. It has something to do with the themes. The plugins I never have issues with updating them through the back end here. But for whatever reason, the themes sometimes work and sometimes don't. All right, this is still moving. So I'm going to pause the video, and then we'll come back when that is done copying the files into that folder. All right, so that is done. Everything is copied over. And now if I just refresh the page, we should see that this updates to 3.2.7. Once it decides to refresh, wait for it. Sometimes when I'm working on localhost, I feel like I still have dial-up. All right, yep, there we go. So it's gone. It's not there anymore, which means that there's no updates for it. But we can come into our appearance, and if we want to check the version number, we can see this in here. Under appearance, manage the theme, and then you can see the theme details. You can see 3.2.7. So, all right. So this theme is updated. Let's do one last check on a couple of these pages, just to make sure nothing changes as far as the look of the site itself. Nothing really should. Everything should be the same. Yeah. Loading here. Again, not the fastest thing, but that's fine. The web server is a lot faster. All right. Let's delete the cache just for good measure. So cache on the page, as far as the server is concerned, it actually takes all of this stuff and loads it on the server, or loads it so it's faster than having to call it every time and process it or render it every time. And so that gets stored. It's just a faster way of delivering the web page, rather than having to calculate all of this, you know. So in the code it says, oh, this title is 42 pixels. I don't know what it is. Let's find out. So rather than having to calculate all this stuff, it actually caches those files. So this is, oops. This is 64 pixels. All right, so 64 pixels. So in whatever file told it it's 64 pixels, that's a style sheet, then we can say that it'll cache that style sheet, and so that way when somebody else comes to browse the page, that's already stored in memory, and it's a lot faster. Of course, if you make an update, then sometimes things don't actually update, which is why you want to delete the cache, just to make sure that everything is good to go. All right, so I think we're good to go here. We have updated the theme. We've removed some of those plugins, and I think we're good to go. Let's do this live, and then I want to do one thing. I think we'll do something after that while we have this set up. So let's do this live. So here on the live site, what we want to do is come in. We know that this is going to work now. I'm going to clear these out and just hide this, just so give ourselves a little bit more room. So the plugins we can remove are MailChimp for WordPress. Let me size this down so I can see both of these at the same time. MailChimp for WordPress, page sections, slider revolution, page sections, the framework, typekit for framework, and extensions, not shortcodes. All right. So we should be able to take these, deactivate them, and have it work. Have everything work. And you see that wasn't nearly, it didn't take nearly as long. So let's visit the site. And we'll do something similar. Just make sure that everything looks like it's still there. Looks like everything's still working. If we look at the page, let's check the headers and see if the headers are still working. Yep, headers are still there. We're still good to go. I think make sure contact works. That's going to be another, plugin for the form. The form showing up, everything is good there. All right, I think we're good to go. Check just a couple more just for good measure. Make sure that everything's good. Ugh, okay, I need to fix that. That's not right. Let me edit this. That shouldn't focus there. That's, I'll remove parallaxing. Let's do that. Yellow Pencil is a great plugin that's helps you do things visually, so you don't have to actually get into the code. You can, but whoops. Let's change the position to be. I want to change the position. There we go. Center top. No, that's not working. Center. That's not changing anything either. Okay. Well, let's remove that then. And oh, I don't want that to be. Okay. Let's pull that. And 0. That's better. That's showing her there. Let's. If we resort back to scroll, it'll go with it, so it doesn't add the fixed bit, which is kind of cool. But for that one in particular, focus on her face. There we go. All right, so fix that. That was pretty easy. And once that's done, we should be good. This guy here, yeah, everything's good. No transcript for an interview. All right, so I think we're good. I think we can come in and update the theme now. So if we come in here, we want to update the theme. And this is going to be a little bit of a different process. Update the plugin. Oh, we didn't delete the plugins. We don't need those plugins anymore. Let's do that. Let's delete those plugins now that we're good. So these that are deactivated, if they're still there, WordPress technically still has to read them because they're still there. It just won't actually do anything with them. But even having them be installed but not activated uses up a little bit of processing power. Not a lot, but a little bit. And every little bit counts when it comes to websites, especially when you're dealing with, these days, a lot of people are on their phones and things like that. So it takes up more, a little bit more bandwidth, a little bit more processing power. So every little bit helps. All right. So now what I need to do is I need to come in and we need to update the website. So to do that, we're going to hop back into the themes, the download. We want to update the actual theme here. So I'm going to extract here. We know that it's going to work because we ran it on localhost, right? So we know it's going to work. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to move this, And I'm actually going to move it. So I have my FTP here. And let's move it so that it's in this folder here. So open that up. I'll take this, move it into here. And then as this moves, I need to actually come in and we want to set this base folder here. Actually, you know what? I'll show you why here in a second. So let's wait for this to move. And again, it's moving off screen here, but it's almost done. So this should be done here in a couple more seconds. Once this is done, and there we go. All right, so it's done. All right, so what we want to do is we want to take this. If we refresh, we can see this is going to try to put it into the root folder. We don't want that. We want it to go into themes. So I'm going to set that as base. And then the process here is to just take this, and you can see a few of the things that have changed. I'm just going to copy this to the right. And this will take a little bit of time to upload because we're not just moving it from one folder to another on our computer. We're actually taking this and we're uploading it. So I'm going to pause the video as this uploads, and then we'll come back when it's done. All right, so this is wrapping up here. You can see it just has a few seconds left. And there we go. It is done. It took 12 minutes and 26 seconds. So let's come in here, and this should just, everything should be the same as it was when we were on a slightly older version. It's just everything looks like it's working fine. Of course, we tested everything, but it's never a bad idea to run through a few more tests just to make sure everything's working good. Let's delete the cache. Let's come in here, delete the cache, just to make sure that we're working with the most recent versions. Delete the cache here. Everything looks good all the way to the bottom. Header's good. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. Oops. Click that by accident. All right, so if we hop in here, we should see that our theme is currently running the most recent version. .2.7. There we go. All right, so we're done with all of the updating on the website itself. One last thing I want to do, and this is just for the fun of it. I mentioned earlier that WordPress 5.0 is coming out, and that is the most recent version. I've already run through some tests, and there are some things that will break. And one of the big reasons for that is because with version 5.0, they are the team behind WordPress is completely revamping the way that the backend for WordPress works. In particular with the way that pages and posts and things are laid out. They're using blocks in a more visual style, kind of like the Visual Composer plugin that I'm using, but that's going to be built into WordPress, which is cool. It's a cool idea. It's the way a lot of people are going, but it breaks a lot of things that are currently in place. So what I'm going to do, let's download the beta, and currently, as of this recording, the most recent beta is WordPress 5.0 Beta 2. So let's download that. And what I'm going to do is go to our downloads. Once this finishes, I'm going to update the version of WordPress that we have locally. This version here. We're done with the live version. In fact, just to make sure I don't accidentally do something, let's close out of those. So this is going to be let's come to the dashboard, and we'll see that we have what version of WordPress we're using. I didn't mention this before, but this error right here, I'm using redirects to go to HTTPS, yeah, I don't have HTTPS on my local host, so that's fine. All right, so let's turn on the at a glance, I believe it is. Yeah. All right. So at a glance, we have we're using WordPress 4.9.8. What I'm going to do, and this update process is pretty much the same as updating a theme, updating a plugin, anything else. It's just replacing the files that are there. Now, the one that we changed, the WP config, that will not break, because when I move this over, it's actually going to be wp-config-sample. And whenever you download WordPress, it's always -sample. And then you actually have to rename this. If you remember, we renamed this to wp-config, just like that, right? And because this is empty, that would break the site if it was just wp-config. But I already, I'm leaving it at sample, and so we'll just have an extra file in there, and that's perfectly fine. So you can see this WP config right here. So when I paste this in, we can see it's going to move WP config-sample, and this is the empty file. And this is the one that actually points to our database. So this here will do that. One thing, while this actually moves over there, I'll point this out, because if you are looking at moving to WordPress 5.0, or if you're concerned that there might be something that's broken, I would recommend downloading your site to a local host like we've done in this video, and go through the process of making sure that everything works. If something is broken, or you're not sure, you want to wait for a little while. In my case, some of the websites that I maintain for my day job that I do, including actually based on a true story, that website, there's some things that will break as well. I'm not going to update to 5.0, and I'm going to wait for some of the plugin developers to fix things that are broken. So one of the ways that you can do that is by telling WordPress to turn off automatic updates, because by default automatic updates are turned on. So let's dates in WordPress. They have this in their thing on their website here. Here we go. Configuring automatic background updates. So what we need to do, you can either turn off your update. So this is updating just the core. It'll still update plugins and things like that. Just the core of WordPress. You can set this to false, and that will turn it off. What I did, and this is because I'm going to be monitoring it very closely, I went through the process of updating everything on the websites that I maintain, updating everything this week. And then when WordPress 5.0 comes out next week, I'm going to run through multiple tests and make sure that one at a time the plugins actually work. And so what I did was I came in and I turned off all updates. Now, it says this is strongly discouraged, and it is for security purposes, because there are a lot of updates that you want to run, that you want to have happen automatically for security purposes. However, there are times like this with 5.0. I'm turning them all off. I haven't done it yet, but I'm turning them all off right before 5.0 releases, so that it won't update any of the reason for that is because not only is the core updating, but a lot of the plugins and themes are going to be updating as well with things that are working for 5.0. And before I actually switch over to that, a lot of times when there's a big update, it might work for 5.0, but there might be a bug that doesn't quite work the way they intend, and things happen. So it might take a little bit of time for them to work through a lot of that. So I'm going to test each one individually. That's kind of the basic thing that I'm going there. So the reason why I brought that up is if you want to turn that off, I'll show you how to do that. So if you come into your updates here, up here at the top, and if this link isn't here, you're all up to date. The link you can see at the bottom of the page. Oh, it's telling me. So I already updated to 5.0. That's all right. I'll show you how to do that here in a sec. So 5.0 database update, that's fine. All right. Once this is done here, I'll walk you through this. All right, so you can see here I am currently using, it's set up to automatically update things. It's telling you that. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's pull back to the live site so you can see the difference here. Just to showcase this. I'm not going to make any changes here, but you can see we have the latest version, right? And then I've actually turned off my updates. So I will show you this real quick. Oops. Let me go back to the website as the base folder. And let me go up here. So actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that here because that has all my private information as far as the theme is concerned, or the actual database. So I'm not going to edit that on a public YouTube video. But I'll do it localhost because that is different, and that is fine if you know that. So let's do this on localhost. So we can see updates available. Come into our page here. Let's edit this. And we want to add somewhere down here this line right here. So when we save that, now if we come back here and we refresh, then you should see that this is going to go away. It's not going to automatically update anything. Once it refreshes here. Come on, you can see it's still loading, still working. There we go. So that's gone away. So it's not going to update automatically. Basically, that's how you can tell. If it says it's going to update automatically, that means it's still going to update automatically. But if you do that, so if I wanted to turn this off, I just delete that, save the file, and then when I refresh the page, that automatic update notification is going to come back. So it's a little bit different here because I'm using a development version, because this is 5.0, it's a beta. So a little bit different than the live version, but you can see that there. So let's run through this so you can see what WordPress 5.0 looks like on the back end. So last time I ran through this, it actually broke some things. So we can see what this will look like if I actually edit some of these pages. See if it'll work. Last time I tried this, it didn't work, and I had to update things. Looks great, doesn't it? No, it's just taking a little bit to load. It's not done loading yet. There we go. Yeah, so you can see this is kind of what it's going to look like. You can see it's pulling in the shortcodes. The shortcodes aren't displaying right. That's one of the things that's kind of messed up there. But this is what the back end of WordPress is going to look like. So if you add in a new post, you'll get to see how it looks different. Oh, there's another error. You can see it's giving an error. It's trying to update and that. So that's right. That was one of the things that was broken about this. But just for a bit of comparison here, let me open up. Go back to the live site here, and let's take a new post, and let's just create a new post so you can see what the difference is, just to compare them side by side. And at this point, it's just kind of for the fun of it. But pull this tab out. Come on, open it, new window. Sometimes it doesn't like to do that very well. All right, whatever. I'll do a new window this way then. I don't know why. It's just not. It doesn't like to pull it out into a new window sometimes. So as this opens, let's go back. So that's that. Let's open up a new post, and let's dock these over, so you can kind of have an idea of what they'll look like. Oops, there we go. So this is the current version of WordPress 4.9.8. And this is WordPress 5.0. Once this loads, you can see the difference. Here we go. So quite a bit of difference here. Just in the general layout, you can see this here. And this is a plugin that I have that actually adds in the ability to do blocks. So like I said, there's a lot of plugins that do that and will add that sort of capability in. But now that's kind of built into WordPress. So you're going to be able to, add in your paragraph. Have your fun. This is the post title. Typical things, plugins down here and stuff. It's given me this console error, which is something that is one of the bugs. I think it's a mixture between 5.0 and the way the theme's talking to it. But it's something that's beyond my control to be able to change. So yeah, you kind of get an idea of some of these. So you can add in a classic one, which is going to be kind of similar to this. You can see. However, add an image, that kind of thing. Add heading that you can adjust things with. It's pretty cool. I like where the direction they're going with this. It's just that initially there's going to be a lot of stuff that breaks because people have been building on WordPress for so long, and this is just such a major change with the way that a lot of this stuff is done that it's going to break a lot of stuff. So anyway, that brings us to an end of this video. I hope you enjoyed walking through the process with me of making sure that some things won't break in WordPress and kind of going through and making some updates to the site and running through some general maintenance. And then as a little bonus, we got to look at WordPress 5.0 and see kind of how that compares between the two. So hopefully you enjoyed this process. If you have any questions, again, like I said, I didn't really explain a lot of the cores of WordPress and how WordPress works and a lot of that kind of stuff. But if you have questions, by all means, feel free to add them into the comments. And if you'd like to see kind of some more tutorial type videos of, how WordPress works, or even, when it comes to recording the podcast or editing the podcast or creating graphics for the podcast, if you want to learn more about Photoshop, learn that kind of stuff, by all means, feel free to let me know. I can start adding in some more of those types of videos to the channel if that's something that that you would enjoy. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll chat with you later. Bye for now.